Oh my God, I'm trapped in this pink box again. Someone help me. Oh my God, I'm just kidding. Welcome back to beauty school. This is Hair School, part 3. We're talking all about hair. Welcome class, get a drink of water, ask for a hall pass if you need to use the restroom, and don't make me ask again, okay? Miss Van Ness is not in a good mood, okay? You should watch part 1 and 2 of Hair School just to catch yourself up. This is kind of like an advanced like 301 class, and if you wanna watch 101 and 201, get ready for college, because that is how it works. You all submit these questions on Instagram, and we love that. We love sourcing your questions. We love it when you ask us stuff. I also have this like really great like green bathrobe terry cloth dress on today that is really cinched to my tiny body, and I love the way it looks. I feel sexy as a minx, honey. What's our first lesson?
Lauren Ridley wants to know, any tips for thick, straight hair? I'm never able to get volume because my hair is so heavy.
Yes, love that question, Lauren. So for long, thick, straight hair, I love a lot of layers. I love a lot of movement, and I also like to release a lot of weight from that haircut. So there's layers, and then there's like removing weight. Removing weight and layers are different things. So I kind of like both. Some people who have thick, straight hair like more of just like a weight taken out one length haircut without the layers. Some people really like both, like layers and weight removed. And I think if you can like create some movement in your haircut and remove some of that weight so you can get a little bit of, just a little bit of movement and texture in your hair, I would love that. Product-wise, you could totally get all up in there with some Embody shampoo and conditioner. That's gonna kind of lift up your hair, give it a little bit of elevation. It's got caffeine in the conditioner, so it's gonna help like perk up your hair follicle a little bit.
Any tips on preventing oily hair besides dry shampoo?
Maddie, good question. I'm super glad you asked. So the reason that some people's hair gets too oily in the first place is actually overwashing. So what happens is like the oil glands in your scalp, they're minding their own business, and then you wash your hair. And if you use like a shampoo that does have a lot of sulfates, it's gonna be even more triggering to the oil glands. If you use a more gentle shampoo, it still can happen from overwashing, but basically, you wash your hair, your scalp says, oh my God, I'm so dry, I need to make oil. So then it makes some oil. But then you wake up the next day and you're like, I just washed my hair yesterday, but it's oily again. So then you wash your hair again. Then the scalp glands are like, geez, now I need to make even more oil. So they make more oil. So then it just creates this like vicious cycle, like washing daily, like where your scalp just ends up creating way more oil than it needs to because you're drying it out too much. Getting away from daily washing and doing like every other day or even like 2 or 3 times a week washing is good. And it'll take like 2 or 3 weeks for your scalp to get the message that like you're not gonna be washing it so much so it can like slow down on the oil production. Believe it or not, I know this is counterintuitive, but a really good trick to help reduce oil on the scalp is actually using a pre-washed scalp oil. Because if you moisturize your scalp and let it know that like it's got enough moisture, it's gonna kind of, those oil glands will kind of like relax a little bit.
Should all hairdressers be able to cut all hair types?
Not to be like that person who says like yes and no, but it kind of is giving me a little bit both. Cause like hairdressing is ultimately an art. As a hair provider, as a hairstylist, you should be able to cut anybody's hair that comes into your chair. That being said, hair is an art form. Every artist is gonna have their preference. Like some artists really like to use clay, some really like to use oil, acrylic paint, some really like to use watercolor. And that doesn't make any artist better or worse than someone else. Like they all just have their natural preferences and they have things that are gonna like be easier for them to create certain things than other things. Like maybe someone likes to use a razor and someone else likes to use a scissor. And you as a client, like maybe you've had a bad experience with a razor and you don't want a razor hair or razor in your haircut. There's also a lot of racism within the beauty school, just whole experience, because people are not taught to do textured hair in the same way that they're taught to do other hair types. And also we know that there's rampant discrimination against Black people for having different hair textures and different types. And we've covered that in my show, Getting Curious on Netflix. That's like why the Crown Act is so necessary, so that we can like protect Afrocentric hairstyles and have people not be penalized in work or school for having Afrocentric hairstyles. But that being said, they don't really teach a lot of those Afrocentric hairstyles and styling techniques in hair school, and a lot of hair schools, period. And if you do have a textured hair part in your school, it's like very short and not as long. So It's a both and thing. I was really lucky that I had a really strong education in textured hair. And I think it's also important as a hairstylist to, if you do have a client, and I've done this on Queer Eye a lot, if you do have a client come to you that wants a particular thing and you know you cannot provide that service, or you know that someone else can do it better, it's important for you to refer that person to the right person who can do that service in a great way. Like for me, like I'm not a good barber. I'm not amazing with, like I can do clippers, but they're not my forte. So that's why if someone really wants like a barber clipper shape, I'm gonna bring in a barber for that because it's gonna turn out better. It's definitely not appropriate for a hairdresser to be like, I don't do textured hair, or I don't do straight hair, or I don't do women, or I don't do, like, you should be able to do every group of people, but there are gonna be like intricacies and certain artistic things that you're gonna be more comfortable with as a hairdresser. So it's good to know that as a client.
The best haircut tip for hair growth, I heard you should cut it every 3 to 6 months. Is this true?
3 to 6 months is a good gauge for hair growth, for how often you should have a haircut. But there's a lot of factors for hair growth that is not only based on haircuts. It's how often you wash your hair. Think about like, if you put a t-shirt in the washer and dryer, like every day, the ends are gonna get a little tattered. It's gonna like kind of fray, like if there's like any graphic stuff on the shirt, it's gonna kind of like come off a little bit. The color might fade. Your hair is really similar to fabric, so overwashing, that's gonna cause your ends to get tattered a little bit faster. Heat styling your hair a lot and not using heat protectant, that's gonna cause you to need to get more haircuts faster. A huge contributing thing to needing to get more haircuts and your hair not growing is sleeping with your hair down. That's like 8 hours a night of just slow 98 to 100 degree friction just rubbing on your ends. But yes, a trim every 3 to 6 months if your hair is long like mine, that's totally sufficient. If you're someone who has like a really short haircut, like a short bob, a shag, anything that's like more of like a definitive shape, that you probably will need to get cut more like 4 to 12 weeks because once it gets a little long, that shape doesn't work the same.
Is leave-in conditioner spray meant to replace conditioning your hair after shampoo?
Good question. And the answer is no. Leave-in conditioner is not meant to replace conditioner in the shower. They're like different things. Leave-in conditioner is usually gonna assist in detangling and it's gonna help to prime your hair for heat styling. Whereas conditioner in the shower, especially if you take warm showers, the cuticle of your hair is really open. So that's like a prime time to moisturize the hair. But it's because you rinse it out, it's not going to like stay in your hair. And especially for heat styling people, for people who live in humid climates or dry climates, you're gonna wanna have like long lasting moisture in the hair. And so leave-in conditioner is really helpful for that.
My top layer of hair is wavy, but the bottom is pin straight. How do I style it?
For people that have like really different textures on the same head of hair, it's really, really common. You could do a few things. One thing you could do is like do a heatless wave and like set the underneath of your hair that's straight, you know, more curly through like a handkerchief set. Or you could sleep in like 2 braids to kind of like set the underneath more wavy. Or you could learn to blow the top out straight to match the underneath. That Shark Flex style is like half the price of a Dyson. So like just a round brush blow dryer or like a paddle brush blow dryer combo is so helpful for blowing like wavy hair out straight way easier than like a traditional round brush. So learning how to do that and then just like flat ironing the top to get the sections to match would be really helpful. Also, sometimes a really great haircut where you kind of like layer and remove weight from that underneath straight part way more, it can kind of like enhance a little bit of a wave or like encourage a little bit more wave underneath. It might not like make it totally match, but it can kind of like blend it in a little bit better. That can also help. Okay, lots of Frizz questions here. We love Frizz questions. So here's one thing about Frizz that's important to know off top and to just get it out of the way. Frizz is inevitable. It is going to happen to us. It's important to kind of embrace the frizz and know that having like truly not one flyaway, unless it's a wig, is probably not gonna happen. So you can control frizz. There's things you can do to mitigate the frizz, but like your hair isn't damaged or wrong or bad. Your products aren't not working because your hair gets frizzy eventually. When you have a baby, your hair doesn't shed the same. So when you're pregnant, your hair gets really, really thick. once you have the baby, the shedding is gonna start to kick back in, and the hair sometimes can get a little bit finer and you can actually lose a little bit of hair post-pregnancy. I've seen it happen to so many clients over the years. It's normal, it's healthy, and most of, like a lot, like the hair comes back like almost always. Silver hair just can tend to be a little bit frizzier, a little bit more prone to frizz. That's beautiful, that's fine, it's great. So in both of those, the postpartum case and the going silver case, you really are going to want to prep the hair when it's wet to prevent the frizz. So you're gonna wanna do like a detangler or something in there to kind of like start to give the hair more moisture while it's wet to like set the hair up for success. So that would be like a complete conditioning mist by JVN Hair. Or you could do like, really like, it's like leave-in conditioners or detanglers to help condition the hair. Try to avoid silicone, especially because that's gonna create a barrier that will make other moisturizing ingredients like not able to get into the hair and prevent the frizz. So that's really important. Also heat protectant, super duper important, or some sort of like curl enhancing cream for our gray haired friend or even our postpartum friend. Something to like prevent frizz when it's wet. So if you're air drying, something like an air dry cream would be fabulous. If you're heat styling your hair, blowout milk. Oh, and then for our preventing frizz from a blowout friend, that is kind of about maintenance. So everything I just said about prepping your hair for a style, that would go for you too. So heat protectant, detangler, like a blowout or a blowout milk will be really good for longevity in your blow dry. But it's also in like how you sleep with your blow dry and how you work out with your blow dry. So like do not work out with your hair down and do not sleep with your hair down. That is going to make it frizz up a lot when you sleep and go to redo it. I love silk scrunchies for maintaining blow dries. You can take your blow dry on top of your head. So you wanna do like a very loose twist. Like I'm just loosely gathering it on top of my head. And I'm gonna take the silk scrunchie because it's gonna create less dense, less tension. And then I'll take my hairline and I'll kind of pull it a little looser so there's nothing that's like creating tension while I sleep. And this is like comfy for me. Like I don't feel any tension on any of my hair. If you do feel tension, just pull it out a little more. That actually did give me a little bit of tension. So sometimes if you feel it, you just need to move this down so it's not like pulling the hair, just like move this literally down. And that should take care of it. Definitely just took care of mine. And that's gonna protect all of this hair from getting caught between your body heat and your pillowcase and your sheets, which will totally rub and create frizz. There's this other technique called a flat wrap, which is a little bit more advanced, and it does require like a bonnet to sleep with. And I like to use a paddle brush, but I have this right now. So what you do is you start on one side of your hair and you're just gonna push the hair along your head and you just like literally wrap the hair all around your head, and then you put a little scarf on. Like you would keep clipping it, keep wrapping it, and then you put a little scarf on, and then you can take the clips out from underneath the scarf. And then when you wake up, you literally will have like a perfectly smooth, perfect blow dry.
Can hair care be used on beards?
Some of it, yes. On a beard, I kind of like to do like a face wash on a beard, but in JVN Hair's case, you can totally do instant recovery serum and nourishing shine drops on the beard. Feels great, really softens, gives it a gorgeous shine. So most of the time, yes.
Any tips on baby hairs?
Not doing too much tension on ponytails to create new baby hairs is good. Toothbrushes are really nice to control baby hairs with. I like air dry cream. Yeah. Thank you, YouTube, for coming to hair school. We love it. 3 installments, honey. Who are we? We love you so much. YouTube, thank you for supporting our work. We love you. If you have any questions, make sure you're following us on Instagram so you can submit questions for our next hair school, honey, because we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you, honey.